What up, boys? Let's finish off Veeq against Hamster on Fata Morgana. We got 2 more games to cast here, so I'm sure they'll be interesting. Protoss in the top left is going to be Veeq, and the orange Zerg in the top right is going to be Hamster. Hamster just confirmed his slot in the Ascension number 7. He will be rejoining us during group stage. It looks like Hamster forgot to set random, so he will be Zerg here. Veeq, on the other hand, I assume is still playing random, but has rolled Protoss, if so. Oh, okay, he set toss. Well, there you go. He was answering my question. As a reminder, these matches were played some time ago, not the current most up-to-date pre-release, unlike that Nablime versus Benza game that was released a few days back. However, at the same time, the changes for this particular matchup, I don't know if they'll be too impactful. And if anything comes up here, I can always mention some of the things that we changed and some of the reasons for it. In fact, I guess while we're on the subject, Veeq, who has signed up for Ascension 7's Gauntlet stage as Protoss, did mention that he was talking with, or just sort of posting on the server, I guess it wasn't specifically with me, he was mentioning that he wanted the positron the positron projectile or whatever to go to max range instead of just going to the target. And I think go to max range is actually just going to be a Terran thing. Technically, the Zerg also have it, but they have the return projectile with the exception of the Calculusk, which... Oh no, the Calculusk is like the positron, actually, so never mind. I was going to say that would be a target for some sort of revision if I was going to fully, I guess, there's a term for when you embody something in the writing and you like sort of underline it. I forget what the term is, but anyway, if I was going to, really commit to that, right? And that's what my plan was, then that's basically something that I would be looking at. But actually, it's fairly consistent because it's not like it does go to max range. It is exactly like the positron. I think it's fine to have some things that require precise targeting to get the most out of the unit. Now, obviously, that means that you can't exactly do certain things all the time. You have to actually focus on your micro, and then maybe it's more effective value for you to have the macro cycles or whatever. But that's just an area you can focus your improvement as a player. I think that's fine. So we will actually see Hamster take a macro hash because the pylon block is real. Hamster returning from his journey as his scout is going to indeed make it back to the base. There's Zealot heading across the map, and the Scribe taking a watchful eye, keeping a watchful gaze upon the 1 o'clock position here. The Scribe is probably thinking about dropping yet another pylon, but it looks like Veeq instead will fall back. Wants to save his minerals for his own expansion. Assumes that Hamster is already going to take it, but we know that Hamster on the other side has been waiting a little bit because of his money. Now, he does have 6 Quasilisks. It looks like the Zealot will bypass them, and what will Hamster do? He's actually got his forces a little bit split here, and he doesn't have any additional, units coming. So this could actually be some economic damage. The Warden is over here, but the other Dracoden is not actually here. So 5 Quasilisks will beat this, but what's the reaction going to be? He's not microing his workers, so he will lose 2 workers. No, just 1, perhaps. Maybe more than that. The Quasilisks are once again going to be pulled. The Scribes on the front line are going to get bopped. And it looks like another Dracoden will finish, so this attack will be held with just the 2 workers. Meanwhile, Hamster has not microed his heart out over here versus the Zealot. It has taken 15 points of damage, but that's not too consequential at this stage. And yeah, the workers are not really doing too much. Now, the Quasilisks have made it into the base in the meanwhile, because it looks like Veeq was a little concerned about losing some of his workers. There should be a drill over here as more and more units are dying. It looks like maybe 2 more Scribes will die, but I think already the Zealot has accomplished more than that. And maybe our players will stabilize at around the same amount of worker kills, but I do think that Veeq is further ahead. The one thing to note is that production-wise, he's actually vastly behind. He has the 1 gateway, he's only now going to put down his Nexus at his natural, and this base has no more workers for him to attack, so he will be ousted with 5 kills. I'm not sure if one of those wasn't a combat unit. Maybe, yeah, it would have been the 1 Quasilisk that was sent back that was caught by him, and that's why only 5 rocked up to the main gate here. And so that's where we have 4 worker kills on either side. The 2 Scribes down here and 2 more corpses were sighted over here. You can still kind of see the tiny little vestiges of their rubble as the Quasilisks also decay. So I think this is going to stabilize, and Veeq will have to sort of scale up his production before he can move across the map. We even have a Zethar sort of spying on this situation, reporting back to the hive mind, and I assume that it will find a safe spot to burrow, or maybe not. Maybe it's fine if he lets his opponent know what's going on. We have a Circuit, but when you have fights against Terran, right, it makes sense to have Circuits all the way out here. But one of the things when you're fighting against Protoss, assuming they have any sort of melee, is you kind of want to SimCity it a bit so that there's a little bit of a barrier. Like maybe if you had a hatch slightly over here so that Zealots had to come through this kind of choke to get around to it, and then if you had like another hatch over here to funnel more units, that would benefit you. Then obviously the Drakodins would theoretically be able to attack, and since this is not expanded, you wouldn't really be able to respond to that. But I feel like that could offer a little bit less surface area for melee units to come into play. And, you know, Bio has Harakans, so it's still something that you could try to leverage versus Terran. But most of the time, they're going to move out with faster units like Stimmed Mavericks or units in general that are going to be a little bit better at holding off against those kinds of things. Now, we do obviously have more workers slowly coming in to saturate this. Veeq has a decent amount of money, so I assume he's going to bank this into some kind of tech change. He's adding a Warden behind the double gate, and he is moving across with quite a considerable force. So there's not really any significant response here from Hamster. He has a lot of Quasilisks. They might be able to help deal with these Zealots, but by that point, I feel like the Circuits will probably be destroyed to sustained Drakodin fire. Although that being said, there are only 4. So this is about 60 damage being put out across the Circuits, you know, every shot or so. Which is considerable, but it's, you know, if the Quasilisks can riposte the assault. In fact, it's even better if they kind of face tank a little bit. I know that sounds a little silly, but considering the situation, I think it's actually a little bit better here. Now, Hamster is overextending this fight a little bit, I think. He will eventually be able to break the Zealots, and that will allow him to remax or push forward, but he wanted to fight around his static defense and not away from it, in my opinion. He does end up hemorrhaging a large number of Quasilisks. That's a lot of minerals. He does have a lot of idle workers that he could be focusing on, and his Nathricors that come out here are just going to confirm that there's Wardens here. I guess they'll confirm that Veeq has a big bank as well, but that's about it, right? He hasn't actually dropped hardly anything. He didn't have super defenses in the natural, so he had to sort of pull his scribes for a brief moment there to back towards the Warden to sort of dissuade any additional play. And we have rogue galleries coming in, so you know the Nath could be useful in Scout again. We have this here for like a counter drop sort of thing or counter air units, just to give him a little bit of a heads up. I would just honestly put an Ovaleth right here or something. I know that sounds expensive, but it would probably give you a bit better of a response if you're expecting lateral moves across the map. And against the Barghests, obviously, that would be pretty good, assuming it is going to be Barghests. You know, you can kind of rely on your Gateway army to contain the opposing Zerg until they get to a point where they have Hydrith or a lot of Vorvs and Zeths mixed in with a couple of Quasis here to sort of chase them down and attack with impunity. A Zealot is going to go ahead and spot that 1 o'clock is being taken. That is going to force a reaction of the Quasis. And this is pretty good play from Veeq to start positioning himself over here. He can kind of start separating this force, because he only did send in 1 single Zealot. But I think he mistimed his army movements a little bit there, because then he didn't feel confident attacking the eggs, fearing that when they hatched he would end up getting completely isolated. And his Ecclesiast takes the scenic route and as a result pays for his life. Now the Vorvikors are going to start really laying into these forces. There goes the other Ecclesiast. That's 100 gas total, just down the drain essentially, and not really able to contribute too much. However, its death would have allowed the other units to escape, considering it does increase attack movement speed when it dies, and instead a bunch of those units get caught as well, just killing a couple of Zetricors for their trouble. So we've lost a couple of Drakodins, but the wall is pretty tight. This is another situation where I think Veeq is going to be more than okay. He even cancels that Warden because he's so confident, and actually it's going to be Charlatans as the force. Now, at the same time, an Athacor is going to confirm nothing at 9 o'clock. The Quasilisks and Vorvs are kind of warming themselves up attacking the gateway, but that's not going to be for long. The third base is up and running at 1 o'clock. We'll see if Hamster is going to be able to saturate that in an even pace. He does have 5 more workers than his opponent. Iral Iris coming as well. And Charlatans are going to be very, very useful at sort of force multiplication for dealing extra damage. I don't know that they're going to be good against the composition that is being picked off here. Now, you can see the walling strategy in action, the funneling in action. It is absolutely making a big deal here. And he even pulls away before the pylon fights the power here and bites the dust. You know what I mean? It's absolutely a bit of a missed opportunity there. He's now going to turn his Kagrins into circuits, even the one in the mineral line. This is pretty effective versus melee, but actually at this point, it's mostly like just the Kabbalists that are going to be melee. Everything else is a Drakodin. You really want to pull out some Hydras or something that can compete with the Drakodins more head-on. Other than that, you can go Vorvs, but you don't have any right now. This one Drakodin kind of getting antsy and fighting ahead of the rest of the pack, going to be pulled backwards. It would be really funny if somebody heard that commentary and was like, oh, well, obviously the answer is just have your units not get antsy, just to have better morale, Forehead, but that's obviously not really what's going on. The first two Kabbalists are indeed going to fall. The second two are going to fall not long after that. The Charlatans at this point, I think they haven't yet been changed, but in the, yeah, that's one of the things that has been changed is the Charlatans have splash now and interception. So that's how they're going to apply their on-hit a little bit better. And that way it's not bounce and it doesn't use the glaive worm. That's just a holdover from when they were a shared unit. They were a sort of hybrid unit, but not really, because hybrid is a cursed term, unfortunately, in Starcraft customs. It's just such an ugly idea. Now, we do have a Mutat Spire coming. Nothing else for Tier 2 tech. We don't even have Tier 2 defenses mutating anywhere. We do have the one Quasilisk that seems to have potentially caught the ire of the Kabbalists scouting that 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock base, the 9 o'clock mirror, I suppose. Nexus coming at 11. That will give Veeq a third base, much needed. His opponent only harvesting from the minerals right now and not in gross quantity, as it's all mutas coming in from Hamster. That's actually not going to be a bad idea, particularly since Charlatans in this version don't have Splash. You could try to do a head-on fight with them. There are going to be 4 Barghest coming, and there was only the one Ovaleth, so there's not really an easy way for him to know, but I think he's actually just decided to rally up here to start dealing with this, and yeah, that is absolutely going to be catastrophic for Veeq. All of a sudden, his jig is up, his opponent knows that he's got that, and he's just going to start flying in. At least it was advance warning for both players of what they were planning. But is there even anything up here? I don't think so. The Muta switch going to be relatively devastating, and what can the Draconans do? They've got to come all the way back and fuck this pylon for some reason. Oh, down goes the Scribes, and the Matrices are not going to be long for this world either. The Barghests are going to fall, the Charlatans are going to fall, and surely that will be the all-in signal, as it were. The signal to just charge in with my army because I've got to deal with him. But I think this has allowed more mutas to arrive. He's got to get across the bridge, which is not an easy feat for Brood War pathfinding, and he's also kind of flubbing it by sort of not moving his units further past to try to get more surface area. Now the Matrix over here is going to finish just in time to be destroyed, and GG will be called. Hamster takes a set. And that is not bad at all from Hamster. He was able to hold out and get the Muta switch. I feel like maybe Veeq kind of let his foot off the gas, never made the Barghests initially just to scout his opponent. And I like the Rogue Gallery conceptually as a choice there, but I do feel like he didn't have much of a front line, so he couldn't actually challenge over the ramp. Although maybe if he had attacked while the Mutas were in the eggs, he actually would have been able to crack open 1 o'clock and put Hamster more on a defensive play. But that's neither here nor there. We got to see a pretty interesting match. Well, let's see the very final one between these two players on this map. We have Veeq randoming Zerg in the top left. We have Hamster randoming Terran in the top right. I have never seen Hamster play Terran. This is a first, and maybe the last. We'll see how this game goes, and I'll take a sip. I woke up very, very early today, and it was a good time. I think I should try to do that more often. I work tonight at 5 o'clock in the evening, my time, and I realized that having woken up at 5:30 in the morning, I mean, for one, I'll probably be very tired tonight, and for another, I was like, holy shit, I have 11 hours before I have to get ready for work. Smash? And yeah, I did indeed smash. I did a Discord dev stream, worked on the Hekaton Hotshot, a new factional unit, and that allowed me to enable the faction in Faction Wars. Replaces the Maverick, can you believe it? So you guys can check that out. It's very work in progress right now. I'm going to redo the audio for its weapon fire at some point, and also wrangle improvements to the model, which is just a kit bash of the Madcap for now. And we don't even have a wireframe yet because I want to update the model a little bit more, which is necessarily going to change the silhouette. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Faction Wars is available, by the way, if you guys want to play with factions. Even in PvP, you can do it. It is a custom game mode that was bountied by BiddyB. Mason will arrive, see no Vespian harvesting. Hamster's like, what? You're not going to Nath rush me? What's going on here? And Veeq will leave with a worker. Honestly, if I'm fighting Zerg and I see their worker leave, I kind of suspect maybe they're going to set up for an expansion, but I think maybe Hamster just recognizes, well, you put your pool down, you probably don't have enough money for that yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and sit here and see, do you have a lot of larvae saved up? Are a bunch of them turning into eggs? Now the second worker leaving, that's an immediate key that, hey, you're going to try to take an expo, aren't you? Well, Hamster will go ahead and confirm that, or maybe not. Off it goes, and Hamster's opponent will take an expansion. Stockade coming, or Stockade finishing. Maverick's coming. He is not playing Faction Wars. He has not selected Hekaton, unsurprisingly, since these games are at least a week old. So that definitely wasn't in. Time-traveling Hekaton. Oh. Ah. Brutalized. I don't know if Mavericks have received their speed buff. No, they have not. So this version is definitely old. It must be considerably old, in fact. So bio will be a little bit worse in this particular matchup. One of the things that I elected to do was increase the movement speed of Mavericks, Clerics, Madcaps, Heracles, and Strigas. So those are mostly going to be tier 1 units, but obviously the Madcap and Heracles are a pretty big set as well. And so yeah, five units total ended up getting some pretty good efficacy there. We've got 2 Vorvs, 2 Quasis heading across the map, and a Maverick is going to get bopped for it, but a stockade has been made and will undoubtedly lift into his opponent's base. An anchor is being constructed. This is very non-standard, and I feel like it's because Hamster really doesn't know that much about how you actually play the Terran matchup, at least the TVZ matchup. He's even going to go ahead and lift it and put it to the left of his ministry, so hyper defensive here, and now the stockade does indeed lift off. He learned this from both Nablime and Moonhunter. Oh, there goes one of the Vorvs. It is indeed going to get bopped. And yeah, Veeq suddenly cannot pressure. This is very evocative of like how some of the really old games would go between all of the crew that played pretty actively like months ago. I want to say like maybe the first couple Ascension tournaments, this would be what you would see even towards like the end of playoffs. You just wouldn't see standard, what we now know as standard play at all. We even have Cyprians coming instead of Hurricanes. Dude, that's actually pretty legit. I feel like Hamster could cheek out a win in this pseudo best of 5 that we've got going on between these two players. So that could be really legit if he ends up doing it that way. Here comes another dead Vorv, and then a dead Zeth. Almost a dead Quasilisk, but not quite. A Cyprian being made more home at local. You know, at this point, right, Veeq must think to himself, dude, this guy doesn't have anything. What's he doing? But I guess he might just be a little bit too focused on dealing with his own situation. And, you know, we're getting 3 Cyprians. We got Zethar cores. Honestly, like the next attack that hits Hamster, he should probably do the Go signal. He's building an expansion. I don't know what this guy is thinking. His Cyprian is following his Maverick, kind of like a lost dog. The one Mason just suspiciously out here. I don't think the eggs see it. I'm guessing not. No, actually, you know what? I just realized. Maybe eggs should have lower vision range. I don't know what their vision range actually is. Oh, okay, here we go. The Mason is here just to see what's going on. What's up, dude? I see a lot of units. I guess that might be a good idea for me to, you know, attack you with my hidden army of 4 Cyprians. There's a second anchor being constructed. We do have Cyprians. The units have pulled back away from the ramp. The Mason is indeed just going to start tickling stuff. What's happening over here? Hey, what the fuck? And here come the Cyprians. Veeq has not yet responded to it on the minimap. And as soon as he starts attacking, hey, repair that. Hamster, no, repair it. Hamster, oh shit, you didn't repair it. Don't worry, there's a massacre of workers over here and Veeq still hasn't looked at his base somehow. Killing the worker constructing the ministry. The stockade is completely dry, so if this anchor doesn't hold, this is in real deep doo-doo. Yeah, like, it's dead, and there's no units coming. Okay, we have a Cyprian with 1 HP. It died. But we only have the 5 Quasis. The Masons can try to fight this, while the Cyprians just try to wreck shit over here, but, you know, where's anything else, right? Like, we don't actually have anything. What's he doing? He's trying to take an advanced movement, but he hasn't actually really focused on this, so his units are just going to start dying helplessly, and unfortunately, yeah, not even a single dead Quasi. All right, I think Veeq's got it in the bag. He's managed to hold the cheese, and by God, man, it was close. Well, actually, it wasn't so close, I don't think, but... oh no! You stemmed him, and he killed himself with drugs. You can't do that, dude. That's against TOS. My God. Bunch of workers, though. Bunch of workers being made here for Veeq. He hasn't continued the path of building a bunch of Quasis to sort of all in from this position. And 2 anchors are being constructed. We have a Cyprian already ready to garrison one of them. And absolutely, it can do some damage. Hey, you've got 2 ministries. You can build twice as many workers per second here, Hamster. Come on, let's go. Get them workers. That's placed in like such an obnoxious position for him. But he's just getting ready to repair it. Now put the other anchor has to go here. Or maybe like here. Dude, this is so exactly like how Terran would play in the super early stages of the meta. It's so funny to me to see this again after like literally like 5 months or something since I've seen something this goofy. Oh, no, I can't put it there. How am I going to do this? All right, I'll put it there. No, never mind. I'm going to move it. It's not within range. Alright, it's going to go back to where it was before. It's an add-on. It's a lodestone. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed the cast. I personally thought it was pretty funny. I appreciated Hamster's contribution to the memes, and he is definitely out of his element. He has no idea what's going on. More Cyprians did get made, but there's a Circuit, and the Vorvs will now discover the floating stockade, and Veeq will be like, "Oh, dude, just fly the anchors across." Honestly, oh, more stockades. He's not out yet. Somehow he's not finished, even though I feel like surely he should be. Anchor's OP, I guess. Did you know they're 25 minerals cheaper on pre-release now? Well, there goes one of them. A Mason was even hiding in there. There is this weird bug where the Masons don't actually move at top speed when the unit that they were tasked to repair dies. And it's like, they probably should just stop moving because the unit died. But somehow they don't. I don't know what's going on there. I have to investigate that separately. A whole horde of Vorvs are being mutated. We have 0 Vests being harvested. The stockade is just sort of spying on him. What's going on? How we doing? Third base being taken here. Mineral only challenge. I do appreciate that. Dude, you could have so many workers. Just keep making workers. This is Niblim's dream, starting with a second ministry. Okay, trying to repair the anchor. Repair anchor challenge. He's only doing it with 2 workers. No, it's dying! Oh my god. Well, there you go. Finally, Hamster is put back into the cage. No wheel for you today, buddy. You're just gonna get bopped. Absolute GG-ing. And Veeq will go ahead and take the game. You know, I thought, you know, when I make these overlays, right, I usually sort the favorite above the underdog. And that's still true in this situation, right? But they played random, and they played some silly-ass games. And that's enough for me sometimes. So I hope it was enough for you guys. Veeq clutching out the set with some goofiness, and me bearing witness to it. And Hamster biding his time till Veeq qualifies to Ascension 7 so he can get his revenge. I'll see you guys later.